Hello guys, my name is Lars Stender. I'm a writer from Denmark who specializes in science fiction and fantasy stories. I'm here now to read from my fantasy novel Mandigo and Hellhounds, and it'll be chapter 24. If you want to know more about my stories, please check out the link at the bottom of the screen. That same night, Mandigo gathered Casper and Jasper in a corner in the courtyard shortly before they went in to eat. "Listen," he whispered. "I've got to get down into the crypt somehow." Casper and Jasper exchanged frightened glances. "Do you really realize what you are saying?" Casper blurted. "I know it's dangerous," Mandigo acknowledged. "But I've got to, I'm telling you. Something very bad is going to honor here at Bloodstone. Just look at the number of Dracoids that have been brought here lately. They say that they came here through a dark portal inside the keep, down in the crypt. But the master has strictly forbidden us to go down to the crypt," Jasper protested, and looked nervously behind his shoulder. The other wizard apprentices had started filing past them towards the keep and the great hall where the food was being served. "Yeah, and the entrance is locked and sealed with strong magic formulas. Besides, he's soon coming back. He's been gone for whole months now, and that's a long time for him. He could be back any moment." I know, Mandigo said. "And that's why we have to act quickly, preferably tonight." Casper stared doubtfully at Mandigo. "You crazy," he said and shook his head. "Maybe, but I think we can get into the crypt. Gorgas, the old Dracoid blacksmith, told me that when he and the other Dracoids arrived, they did not leave the crypt through the keep. They came out through the casements on the north wall. Do you know what that means? It means that there is another entrance to the crypt, and I think I know where it is." "But wouldn't that also be protected by magic spells?" Jasper pointed out. "Maybe, but there's only one way to find out, Mandigo insisted. "Meet me by the stables at midnight, and I'll show you." Jasper and Casper looked at each other and then began walking towards the keep in the great hall. Mandigo would have liked to accompany them, but because of his unruly behavior, he had been forbidden access to the great hall and banquet. He didn't look anything like the other wizard apprentices either anymore. Instead of the long black frock which they all were wearing, his large body was wrapped in pieces of shredded clothing and a thick leather shirt on which was mounted a chainmail armor which Gorgas had given him. Had it not been for his long dark hair and the parts of his face that had not been scarred, he could, in semi-darkness, easily have been taken for a Dracoid instead of a human. Mandigo watched Casper and Jasper with mixed feelings when they entered the keep. On the one hand, he was a bit sad at not being able to accompany them. On the other, he felt exhilarated at the thought of this upcoming evening's adventure and a sense of independence that had been awakened in him in the last few months. He went into the east tower and climbed the staircase that led to the parapet. He took 2 steps at a time without getting short of breath. He was still hindered by his bad leg, yet felt that he was in better shape than he had been for a long time. The training and work he had been doing with Gorgas had done him a lot of good, he thought. He followed the parapet along the east curtain wall to the northeastern tower. This tower was special because it was square-shaped, whereas the others, apart from the keep itself, were round. It was also slightly shorter than the other towers, and the masonry was older and more ravaged by time and the elements. Mandigo had a particular fondness for this tower, perhaps because it stood out from the rest and, like himself, didn't fit in with his surroundings. Mandigo had the tower to himself when he reached the top, which suited him just fine. A raw evening wind shook the hood on his leather shirt, and a cold mist came rolling in from the lake and waterfall. The summer's warm temperature had not quite settled in yet, and the dark hours of the day were still in the throes of winter. Mandigo closed his eyes and tried to relax. He went deep inside of himself and tried to let that special, sizzling power loose that he had felt arise in him the day Grimwald had so viciously closed Jasper's mouth shut in the dormitory. For a long time nothing happened, and Mandigo started wondering whether the whole thing had just been a dream. He took a deep breath, tried again. The wind blew his hood back and caught his hair, making it whirl around his head. He focused on the wind, letting himself get completely absorbed by it. And then the power awakened. Smouldering flames deep within him jumped to life with a volcanic fervor that spread through Mandigo's chest and limbs. But he didn't need to use all of it, not yet. Like a knight trying to keep a tight rein on his horse, Mandigo fought hard to maintain control over his gift, so that it remained like a bonfire, giving out warmth deep inside of him, and not a wild forest fire scorching his surroundings. At the same time, he could not let it die out like it had done back then with Grimwald in the dawn. It was like walking a tightrope. But Mandigo had got better and better at it the last few weeks. He had practiced every night in the old square tower, where he could find peace and quiet, and where he felt he was particularly in contact with his gift. And on this particular night, he felt as if control of his gift had finally settled down, like a tailor-made saddle for a wild horse. His gift were no longer an uncontrollable force, filled with his own moods and an unpredictability. Grimwald had been right when he had said that Mandigo had already acted in the face of the demon. But the gift had merely reacted to the threat of the demon, and done its best to protect Mandigo. Now, it was Mandigo's turn to protect the gift inside himself.
Damn. That was a little bit more relaxing.
Yeah.
But still lots of questions.
Yeah.
What do you think was the most important here?
The most important is that we finally get the message from Mandigo himself that he's learning to control his gift.
By controlling himself.
Yes.
Yeah.
He starts out by saying he feels stronger, more confident, and in better shape than he had done for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Not only physically we learn, but as he enters this or climbs this old tower, we get the impression that he is not only going from a weakened physical state, but also to a higher spiritual state.
Yeah. But we always know that if you control your body, then your mind will be calm.
Yeah. And this is the process we see here.
Yeah. So close it down.
Yep.